32 female, with a 5-year-old son, and next April, he will enter first standard school. He is currently in a preschool nearby, and next year, I plan to send him to the best private school in the area. Its annual tuition is around $20,000 US. I am not America. I studied there. My late husband studied there. We met there. I lost my husband when my son was 3 months old due to cancer. I work for my parents' business, and from my late husband I got life insurance, savings, and the house went to my son and me. I've invested mostly in my son's name and some for myself. I met my current husband, 38 male, 3 years back. He has a 6-year-old son and 10-year-old daughter. We got married in 2023. His children go to decent school too. His ex-wife and him share the funds. And we moved into his house. So, my husband said to either send his kids to same school as my son or my son to theirs. I told him my son's education can't be compromised. And his children's education is his and his ex-wife's responsibility. We share a family budget for clothes, travel and gifts expense, but not for education and children's savings, which was made clear from day one. He says he doesn't want his children to feel like second-class citizens to my son, who will go to the most expensive school. I told him he and his ex-wife can compromise their savings and pay for their children. Frankly, the kids in my stepchildren's school come from terrible backgrounds, and I don't want my son to mingle with the crowd there. It is also a private school, but it has a drug-going crowd, and spoilt kids with terrible families. I can't afford another $40,000 for my stepchildren's education, and frankly their education is their parents' responsibility, and it was made clear even before the wedding. He says I am being elitist, but as a mother, my son's education comes first. The school where I am going to send my son throws such kids out, and most kids come from prestigious families with great network. I want him to become successful like his father. And our marriage has hit a rock. He says his kids will resent my son. But I told him, even before marriage I told him that I will send my son to this school only. He said he thought he would change my mind. My husband is sleeping in another room, and I am missing him. But my child comes first. Edit. I know private schools have such issues too. But they tackle it better here, and it's better to take less risk than sending my son to wolves. To the people saying I should pay rent to my husband in his fully owned house. When I asked him to shift to my house, and it was his decision that I should shift with him. I own my house, only child of my parents, on deed as well, and my parents want us to be a multi-generational house. Which is common here. I am saving nothing on rent. It was a mutual decision to shift to his house. By the way, I pay for the costs of foreign vacations, and it adds up to more than the rent he would have earned. I didn't know I have to pay rent to my own husband. Also, to add, my late husband's house is 50-50 to me and my son. I can't sell it or anything unless my son decides it in adulthood. So, we had both homes to live in. To clarify to people who are saying I am lying in comments. He didn't want to shift. Am I the a-hole?
Not the a-hole. Your husband left you money to take care of you and his child, not to take care of your new husbands and their children. It would be a real slap in your son's face to take the money his father left him and spend it on someone else's children. He would resent you for doing that when he got older. It may seem harsh to your new husband, but you made it clear before you married. You can be a good stepmother to his children in hundreds of ways. Cook them meals, take care of them, help them with their schoolwork, teach them, etc. But in this one way, your son deserves your unique support.
I'm paying for my son's school from my income. His father's income and savings are saved in trusts and real estate, which he will access with time.
Not the a-hole. You are continuing the education for your son that you and his father planned and provisioned for. You have the means to do that. The way you compare the schools does sound very elitist, and you should carefully consider how those words are interpreted by your stepchildren. There are other far more legitimate reasons for choosing a specific school, like a connection to his father, that matter. You have good reasons, so ditch the elitist sentiment and communicate that better. However, you absolutely should not be guilt-tripped into exposing your child to lower quality education for any reason, but especially not just because your stepkids will feel second class. Your husband knew about the situation, and his expectation that you'd change your mind was because he planned to change it by doing this. That is incredibly insulting. You were honest, he was deceptive. Be mad at that, it's a red flag. If the private school would not be good for your stepkids behaviorally, then it's not about the kids feeling second class, it's about your co-parents feeling inadequate by comparison. That's their problem, not yours or the kids. You can support your stepchildren also attending the private school, but you are correct that your husband and his ex are responsible for that decision and the financial reality that choice carries. You prioritized the private school, they chose not to. It's what worked for them. If they do want to switch schools, you can be understanding of the additional financial burden on your husband but still protect the financial resources your former husband left for his son. If you have means outside of dipping into your son's accounts, then contributing in part to your stepchildren's education is a reasonable ask, but it depends on how those matters are handled both ways. Does your husband's ex-wife contribute to your son's expenses? Are you 3 parents with 3 kids? If it's basically they want you to pay for it all, then you seriously need to protect yourself financially from being exploited. I hope your relationship with your stepkids is healthy, but it sounds like your husband may be the type to incite conflict and bullying between the kids that could lead to problems. Explaining to them everyone's parents are making the best choices for each child, including your son's father, and that it is not a contest may be important. Asking the kids what they think may also give insight into what's best for them too. Don't tolerate teasing or classist bullying.
I don't think you're the a-hole, but I'll give readers a bit more context. I'm 99% sure from how OP typed this she's in India. Indians are highly elitists when it comes to their private schools. Heck, they are with public schools too. The dog race to have your kid in the best school starts from when they are born, quite frankly. Networking, tuition, etc., it's all a part of it. If other commentators are accusing OP of being elitist, let me assure you her husband is too. He wants his kids to go to her son's school as well because it's a stepping stone, and the proximity and brand matters to him as well.
Well, a day after this post, my husband and I started sorting things out. I had to point out my contributions because he kept blaming me. I pointed out how I spend 50k on vacations. Vacations are not going to be compromised as they are my healer. I said I contribute to half of household expenses, and he has since been able to save more money compared to past. I gave him the option to move to one of my 2 houses and rent out his so he can send the stepchildren to better school. My husband said he doesn't want to move because he loves his house. I told him I am not going to pay 40k extra per year and it is his choice to make. I told him my stepchildren have a living mom who is paying for them. But my son has no living dad. To the people who were lecturing me about public schools. Not everyone lives in America and private schools are the best source of education here. Also, many asked me to pay rent to my husband on a mortgage-free house. Here I gave him option to live at either of my 2 houses freely and the rent income to be used for my stepchildren's school. So what's your point now? I told him he and my stepchildren shouldn't go on vacation then, if he wants me to pay 40k as I will save around 30k on vacations. And he can arrange the remaining 10k. He freaked out and said he loves foreign vacations. He said his children will be fine and he already pays for the best tutors. So, it is off the table now. Now he is bugging me to plan for next trip already and acting like everything is fine. We decided to stay out of each other's kids' education and savings-related matters. He doesn't want compromise at all. Why should I be the one to compromise then? I gave him 2 options and he took none. To people who said I should treat children equally financially. My son's inheritance is from his father, and if tomorrow we get divorced, will we still be in each other's lives? If I have one more child, I also have to ensure that they get their fair share of inheritance from my side. We eat the same food, same clothes, same gadgets, etc. But in education and my properties, they are for my biological kid only. And it is what my husband will do too. Also, the vacations I gift are more than the supposed rent that I would have paid him. So, no, I am not going to pay him rent. Also, I don't hate public school or poor children. Here, discipline is a thing in private schools, which we lack in public schools. Sure, there's a possibility that my kid might turn down a wrong path. But the odds are in his favor. And I would rather be called an elitist for sending my son to a safer school than winning an argument on the internet with people who have socialist fantasies. I want him to get the best opportunities and a better environment to grow up with family and friends. Also, I have my own friend group from the school. It helps when you know the people and it strengthens your connections. ultimately helping every child in our household. Because of the networking I have.
Your husband is still getting the better deal. You should only stay with him if the pros outweigh the cons of being married to him. It sounds as if he will never stop expecting you to pay more than your fair share. He is living much better than he could on his own. Can you say the same about your life? Whatever you decide, it sounds as if you will keep putting your child first, so that's a good thing.
Aside from this argument, we have a good marriage. We are involved in each other's children's lives in other ways. For example, he does the outdoor stuff for all the kids and I do the household stuff for all the kids. Frankly, this is the first serious argument we have had. I don't mind spending money on my family until I feel like certain lines are being crossed.
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more.